Hey there everyone, Luke here, and welcome back. We're back off the break now, which means we're finally in we're officially in the new year for chapters, because there's the Christmas breaks are over and New Year's break is over, so we're in the new year for talking about chapters. Hope you had a great New Year again, Christmas and everything, and I had a fantastic birthday last week whilst we were on break as well. Also, big shouts out to everyone that came in the stream that me and Pie Jams do. You guys are awesome. We're loving doing the streams, and in case you haven't noticed, yes, I did have a haircut. So yeah, had a haircut, was getting in the way. I thought, like, you know what, I'm gonna have it now, get it out of the way, and yeah, feels fresh and everything, and perfect to start the new year. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about Doctor Stone, because this year might be the last year for Doctor Stone. So I have to say goodbye to the puzzle, not the puzzle, the poster when it comes. Fingers crossed, I might be getting one for Mission Sakura when I start doing those reviews, but hey, we'll see. But for now, let's just get into the chapter. Alright, so this will be chapter 225, titled Docking. I just want to make a reference to a PC game, like really old one, like nearly 20 years old, like Dock Denied, Destination in Hostel. Like, it's a freelance reference. Go and check it out if you are interested in checking out that game. I highly recommend it, especially since it takes place entirely in space. So yeah. Anyway, the chapter starts off with the second unit for the space rocket slash station that Chrome and Suika design actually making its way towards where Senku, Kaku, and Stanley are, and Stanley's piloting the the base area where it's actually meant to be docking, and he's able to dock it correctly. See, what I love most about the shuttle is, again, like, we're obviously taking our time to actually, okay, yeah, this is going to take small parts, and it's actually going to take a little bit of time before we actually get to it. It's not all going to be done in one chapter. There are going to be obstacles and hurdles to overcome, and we have Kaku saying, congratulations, Stanley, which she says this in English, and it's referenced that there are bits of broken English survived in Ishigami Village over the century. So nice having that little bit of reference from Byakuya, because he mentioned that he had a hard time writing in English, and he probably got some help with Lillian to create the 100 Tales as well, so maybe that's where that comes from. After Kaku congratulates Stanley about actually getting the ships together, he informs her, yes, this is nice, and it's great that you actually congratulate me, but again, it's too soon to be celebrating, because we've still got to get 3 more units into the space station, and it's like 10 billion%, and Senku's obviously saying 10 billion% the docking went off without a hitch. Yes, Senku, as soon as you say that, something is gonna go wrong. And Kaku mentions that Senku never changes, and at least get a little bit excited. And yeah, this is pretty much what everyone was saying in the last chapter. Like, come on, Senku, you're in space now. Just get a little bit tiny more excited. You're allowed to get excited. You're allowed to express emotion, man. But anyway, they go on to say, that's not it. You'd expect a bigger reaction from Team Earth, no, and we see the reaction from Team Earth as we have Taiju basically being Taiju and saying, "Heck yeah, Senku!" Like getting all worked up and everything. And Senku, knowing his best friend, actually predicts, like, yeah, Taiju should be hootling and howling and with tears, and starts running down his big dumb face. And yeah, this is exactly what he's doing in the chapter. So yeah, nice that they actually established, like, pretty much cementing that, yeah, Taiju is the best friend of Senku, so he would know it. Well, he's the lifelong friend of Senku, so yeah, he would know exactly what Taiju would do in any given situation, in the same way that Taiju would probably know what Senku would do in any given situation. And Chrome says, totally, and Chrome's basically doing exactly what Senku is doing, but we're seeing, like, saying, like, yeah, we should be hearing stuff from them as well. Can you imagine, all of you, his bad showing and everything, but this is where Sinu actually clicks in, like, okay, something is definitely going wrong here, and Senku actually picks up on this as well, is that the radio, they can't hear things. So yeah, they so yeah, Senku, Kaku, and Stanley, they can communicate to Earth. They just can't hear anything back. So it's kind of like a one way system going at the moment. As we cut over to Kaku, basically putting down some panels and everything, and trying to get everything all connected into space before she sees Unit 3 coming in fast, and she's heard coming in fast, and um, you need something spotted. Not no need to worry, even on the docking screen. So yeah, that so yeah, they're communicating because Kawaku's outside and Stanley and Senku inside, so they're communicating message together. And she says, "No need to worry, even on the docking screen." As we see, just the perspective of just how far Unit 3 is to get into units one and two before we go back inside and we see Kohoku is like freaking out because the screen is broken. It's broken everything, and Senku informs her like, no, this is not your fault. Somewhere inside the ship is that they have an electrical problem, and we do see how much of an electrical problem it is as we get the sound effects going like. It's probably like that, which I'm glad that we've actually got like problems actually coming back in and how they're actually having to be able to overcome. So it's nice that we're actually getting that back, because again, it seems that we've just been speeding along without any real obstacles whatsoever. So yeah, we have them saying half the image is gone and Unit 3 has to dock with the screen like this, so basically just getting a blurry image. And Kaku says to Stanley, "Can you get it done with your skills alone?" And Stanley, being Stanley, is like, "Yes, I can." And as we know, whenever Stanley says those words, we know that he means business, and he is able to actually dock Unit 3 with the rest of the spaceship. So we see them like working outside in the vacuum of space, and again, just like a glorious image of space here. Like these space images from Boichi are just like what is making this final part of the story like that much more impactful. Just the surrealness of just seeing space stone world tech at this moment in time. It's just like, wow, we've come a really long way. Although we get a fist bump from Kaku and Stanley. Now I'll get into this moment between them two in a bit, but first things first, the Doctor Stone trivia actually did bring up a good point here, which I was kind of like a bit like, yeah, that does seem odd. The fact that all three are out there, it's like, really, you're not going to keep one person in just in case something happens, like I don't know, the wires that are connecting you to the spacecraft actually get dislodged or disconnected, and you actually start falling through the vacuum of space back down to Earth. You might want to have someone in there to like sort of grab you. Like something definitely could go wrong in that sense. Now I'm not saying it is going to go wrong, but it is potential that could happen. But anyway, the moment with Stanley and Kaku, like Pi Jones actually brought this up on the streamer. He was kind of like a little bit disappointed with it, of the fact that we didn't get much interaction between Stanley and Kaku for this to actually be warranted. And I agree with that. I certainly agree with that. I feel like we could have done with like maybe when Stanley was revived and it was decided like Stanley, Kaku and Senku would be the ones to go up. Maybe we would have gotten, like we saw the little bit of training that they were doing. Maybe we should have gotten a chapter of just them all training together, just like that one chapter of them all training together, kind of getting to know each other, and kind of like Stanley feeling maybe a little bit of guilt for what he did in South America, or maybe we got a chapter here where they like just this chapter was just them sitting whilst they're waiting for Unit 2 to come, and they're like, so what do you guys want to talk about? And Stanley was like, well, I'll go first. I'll say like, why did you even kidnap Senior in the first place? And they could have said, well, you try to kill me in the first place. That Senku could have said, and Stanley would have been like, yeah, but those were on Sinu's orders. Like he didn't want at the time. He didn't want you to cooperate with you. So that was kind of what I was just doing my job for my boss. And they could have brought up the fact like, yeah, how close are you two guys? Because we've been seeing because we've been getting like vibes of like you two are in love, and we could have actually got a confirmation that Cena and Stanley are lovers in this chapter if they just taken the time to just get more motivation for Stanley's character as well. So that's something I really think they should have expanded upon, and maybe gone like a bit of Stanley's backstory of like why he's so loyal to Cena, like as aside from the fact that yeah, he's obviously in love with Sinu, but like, how did they come to like sort of like have that relationship with each other? That's something I would be fascinated to know. But yeah, continuing on, we see Senku just getting a little bit of sentimental in the bottom panel, which makes me think that he's kind of thinking about Byakuya and how it's kind of sad on his part that Byakuya can't be there to join him in this mission as well. But yeah, so, but yeah, Senku obviously. Oh no, he's not. He's not being sentimental. He's working hard. So it's just the way that panel's drawn. It makes me think like you can take it in two different ways. But yeah, it's the panel where he's thinking like he found the problem as we see a strand of hair that's lodged in with the electronics, and they say, "What's that? Some little stick, a stone fragment for someone," and they say. Yeah, this looks to me like a stone strand of human hair. It's somehow wedged itself into the circuitry, and Kawaku's question like, how did this actually get there? Before we cut to a flashback where it seems that Yo got into the room just before they were being petrified, and a shred of his hair was lodged up as they were doing the petrification. So yeah, it was Yo's hair that actually got in there. So always comes back to Yo. It always comes back to Yo. And it was activated the petrification beam inside the ship, so that's how it got launched in. Now, this would have been fine if they actually set it up earlier in the arc. Like Yo was, if they actually just showed Yo there with Kazuki, just observing everything. So yeah, another missed opportunity there, and maybe Inagaki didn't intend it to be Yo. Personally, it would have made more sense if Senko just rubbed his hair, rubbed his hand through his hair, and he just felt like feel like I've lost a bit of hair. Like that could have worked. Could have had that settled, but hey ho, what can you do? And this is where we're getting to like the trial and error. That's how we make progress with science. We should have moved after being petrified. The explanation of what went wrong actually comes back to the fact. Yeah, you pretty much screwed up here by petrifying yourself before you took off. Yeah, you should. Yeah. Should have thought about that plan ahead, Senku. But yeah, you kind of screwed up here. As we see the circuitry just get blown to smithereens. Now, this is important because I feel like this is actually going to come into play with particularly what happens in this chapter with a particular person that we didn't see in the last chapter. You know who he is. He's in the thumbnail, so you know who it is. So Crocker mentions that the Docker screen just went dark as we see Unit 4 making its way over there, and Stanley asking Senko if it can be fixed, and he says the condensens fine, no telling the full extent of damage. We'd have to swap in a whole new power supply circuit. So yeah, makes me believe that Unit 5 is going to bring up more supplies, possibly with some other people. We're going to have to get into that when we see it. And Senku mentions that they don't have it in space, but they say, and Koku is getting worried by saying it's hopeless then. No camera means we're in the dark for the rest of the docking process before she notices that the capsule itself is actually moving on its own, and that actually gets her confused. And so, and Stanley is actually observing this as well. I'm thinking like, yeah, you're not wrong here. It does look like Unit 4 just wiggled around on its own, and yeah, this is not a trick in my eyes. I definitely did see it wiggling around its own, so something is going on there. And they said somebody must have hitched a ride. Unit 4 is the lunar lander itself. There's definitely space for a person to cram in there. And Kawaku's like, oh, who would be so reckless to do that? And Senku immediately knows who it is, and we all immediately know who it is. Like, it would definitely be a 10 insane stunt like that. Only one guy in the still mode before we see that it's actually Ryusui. So Ryusui actually boarded the lunar lander, Unit 4, and he's like, spaceborne at last. Outer space is mine, all mine. And everyone's just like, you have made it up into space. So yeah, he finally got to achieve his dream of going into space himself. Now, Does this take away from Ryusui's sacrificing his space to Stanley? No, I certainly don't believe it is, because this was pretty much foreshadowed. Like, we all knew that Ryusui was going to go to space. We just had the inkling that it was going that yeah, this was actually going to happen. This was gonna go down here. Now, a lot of people feel like it does take away from this moment, and yeah, I can kind of see why people are conflicted about this, because that moment was kind of emotional for his character and gave some great character development moments, but this is keeping in character still with him as well, because we all know how greedy Ryusui is, and if he has an opportunity to go to space, he is going to take it. He's not gonna overlook it. And the fact that we didn't see him in the last chapter, I think that should have given us an indication of, like, yeah, Ryusui is up to something. We don't know yet, but he is definitely up to something. We all should have seen that coming. So yeah, I don't believe it takes away from the notion of his sacrifice, because again, he said, like, I am going to be the backup. I am going to be the backup pilot. And now that they have the backup pilot, Polychance reckons this might be hammering in that Stanley might do a self-sacrifice on the moon, which, yeah, I can see that potentially happening, but do I want it to happen? No, because I don't believe, like, in order for, like, the redemption and everything to that for that to happen, like, Stanley has to die in order for him to, like, have proper redeeming qualities. Like, no, I feel like he's done more than enough by just being on their side and actually going to confront the right man. I think that's more than enough to pardon him at this point. Now, the thing about Ryusui being in Unit 4, that gives me an idea of what potentially might happen with Unit 5, and we'll get into it. We'll get into it when we get into it. But yeah, Sai says those are his first words in space. Ryusui never changes. So yeah, pretty much knows his brother inside and out. It's like, really, bro? Those are the first words, like, outer space is mine, or mine. Like, Sai's probably thinking, Ryusui, you're so greedy. But that's what I love about you. That's probably what Sai is thinking here. And Sai could have potentially actually helped him. Like, me and Pyro Jones were debating, like, how did Ryusui get to space on his own? Well, Sai could have probably given him the calculations, and we just didn't see it on screen. And we might actually get a flashback to how it happened in the next chapter. Because Sai was Sai in the last chapter? Let me just go back and check. Was Sai in the last chapter? Let me just quickly check. Quickly. No, Sai wasn't in the last chapter. So yeah, Pyjams, Sai wasn't in the last chapter. So yeah, it was entirely possible that Sai and Ryus were working together off screen to actually get that get Unit 4 working, just in case something did actually happen. Also for Sai to, like, say, because I imagine Sai was like, Ryusui, look here. I know you want to go to space, you know you want to go to space, and I know you did a really amazing job by sacrificing your needs for the greater good of humanity, but come on, if there's one opportunity for you to go to space, it's now, and I don't think anyone will blame you for taking that opportunity. So go out there, see space for yourself, do it for both of us, have the desire for both of us. I feel like if we get that moment in the next chapter, that would be a really touching bonding moment and would actually add great character development for Ryusui and Sai. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Pyjam's kind of had the same idea. So yeah, we'll see. But we see, and also Francois might have actually been there condoning Ryusui as well, and trying to give him like the courage, like, yeah, I'm going to go up into space as well. As well as Senku, Korka, and Stanley. So, and we see Fran just looking off and looking like, my master. He's finally achieved what he always wanted. Now, if there's one if there's one ship that I want to happen aside from Chrome and Rui or Taiju and Yusuvia, it's Fran and Ryusui. I'd also seen them and Stanley, but yeah, Fran and Ryusui, I could definitely see them being together because they have such good chemistry. They've known each other for a very long time. I could definitely see them like getting together. And can you just imagine them? Being their kids if they did have kids? Like they would have like the world's best butler and the world's greediest man rolled into one. So yeah, that would be an interesting combination. And then we have Nikki speaking to Senior by saying they think they'll get the gist that Ryusui is attempting to dock himself. They're still coming through loud and clear on the radio, but they can't hear a thing. And and Senior's like, don't worry about them. They're the Earth's the Earth's most elegant trio of astronauts. And this is where Stanley gets an idea of what is going on here by docking by operating uniform. That's a hellish maneuver. With our reaction wheel, and then this is where Croker's like reaction wheel. Like I always love when the Finnish people are just like trying to work out words that we're normally accustomed to, but they aren't. Kind of like going back to what I was saying at the beginning of the chat with the broken English. Like remember in South America where they said freeze to Suika, Stanley's forces, and Matsukaze and Ginru were like, freeze? What does that mean? Like I've heard it before, turn solid into ice, but they didn't understand that freeze meant don't move. So yeah, I always love it when the characters do that. But yeah, they go on to say that it's a machine that's inside a spacecraft that uses a spinning wheel to rotate the craft via gyroscopic principles. Piloting that thing by reviving the engine ain't impossible, but it'll burn through precious fuel. So yeah, pretty much just cementing in that they're gonna need more supplies to come up in Unit 5, which might actually have enough space to carry 3 people, and we'll get into the 3 people that I think they're going to be in a minute. But before that, Karaka says, "Wait, I just saw for sure Ryusui somehow just in the space angle. So somehow just in the space the craft's angle. So yeah, at this point they probably like can see what's going on because they're not that far away, as we see from the perspective of Unit 4 to the other units." And we see Chrome saying, "Let me guess, Sinu, you whipped up a control unit for that thing just before launch, right?" And Cena's like, "No, this is beyond me. Controlling that craft into the void of space with our reaction wheel. How in the world is Ryusui doing this?" And yeah, we'll probably get an explanation for this. Sai may have helped him, and so might have Fran. They both might have helped him, but we see like Ryusui just spinning out of control to kind of get it working. So yeah, pretty hilarious moment, and he doesn't seem phased by it as well. He just seems like he is in bliss by what's happening at this point. And he says, "Haha, what we like when we like what we desire, we create it. Am I wrong?" So yeah, pretty much saying that yeah, he created this. I'm my own gyroscope, a human reaction wheel. And Senku's like, yeah. I just love like Senku's like laughing his arse off by saying, "Our king of desire is obvious gone," and Stanley and Croker just being like, "Really? Seriously?" And the others on ground zero like, this is crazy. Before we see it finally dock with the spaceship, and Senku getting back his E=mc², and that's where the chapter ends with a beautiful shot of the spacecraft so far in the vacuum of space, sort of like getting itself under control, but sort of like needing other components in order to survive. Now, pretty awesome chapter this week. Really enjoyed it. Got quite a bit of tension here, and nice that they're actually like slowing down a little bit before we actually get into the big climactic showdown with Y-Man. Now, with Unit 5, I do feel that Gen, Suika, and Chrome are going to come up. I seriously don't doubt it now, 100%. Now, a lot of people are saying like, well, they're in Ground Zero. We've seen them in Ground Zero. Yes, but Unit 5 could not have launched yet because we've seen Unit 4 be launched, but we haven't seen Unit 5 be launched. So potentially Senku could get radio communication back and be like, okay, listen, we need supplies up here. Can at least 3 other people bring them up? And Chrome would immediately jump at that, Suika would obviously, and Gen would jump. They'd probably ask Gen, and be like, "Why am I going?" They'll be like, "Well, when we get to the Y-Man, you'll probably have to talk to him, so Gen's probably going to do the talk no jutsu." Now, if that's the case, that would be great, because then it would solidify my theory of like, yeah, people coming up in the individual capsules, which I pretty much got right. Other people are coming up, and part of the principal cast. So we need the 3 others to get up there, and this will just be amazing, and it would make so much sense because this is Chrome and Suika's doing. Like, all of this, the return festival and everything, this is all comes back to Chrome and Suika, so it is their doing. And the fact that, and they have to go, they have to be in their spaceship because it pretty much is their spaceship because they designed it, they came up with the components and everything, and they basically convinced everyone that yes, this is something that we want to do. So yeah, to not have them in their own spaceship in space would be kind of a big, like, sad moment, and this would actually tie back in as well now that we have Ryusui there, if Chrome's up there, to what happened in the hot air balloon, but Chrome would just be like bawling his eyes out for an hour, and Clark would be like, come on man, get on with things, you want to go back and see my sister, don't you? So yeah, I would love that. And also it would be like just like the apex of Chrome and Suika's character development, like the two people who didn't know a lot about modern science ended up creating a spaceship that could take them up and do all the docking in space. Like, it's amazing how far those two have come, and I feel like if they went into space, it would take their intelligence more to new heights. And we did actually get a panel, we did actually get in the recent volume exactly what their intelligence are. I'll mention it in the next review, but yeah, that's all I have to say on the chapter. So what did you guys think of it? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.